So now we're going to go to Teddy, who is a member of the International Socialist Alternative in the US, living in Wisconsin. Welcome, Teddy.
Thank you so much, Toya. Thank you for having me.
We're really excited to have you on today to talk about what's going on in Ethiopia. It's absolutely devastating and it's really sad, but it's an important discussion. And we really want to make sure that everyone around the world knows what's going on in this part of the world. So, you know, Ethiopia in recent times has been described as this sort of capitalist success story and like this example that the rest of Africa should follow. But the Prime Minister, Abiy Ahmed, he is under a lot of criticism right now for what's going on, even though a few years prior he won a Nobel Peace Prize for releasing a bunch of political prisoners, which he's now rearresting, but we'll get into that. And, you know, the country has plunged into this basic civil war. Thousands of people have been killed, even though it is difficult to get, you know, accurate information because the internet has been cut off, electricity has been cut off. But there have been reports from refugees that are fleeing the war zone right now. But there's even people being massacred, huge amounts of food shortages. And it's just another thing to add on this long list of devastation of the pandemic year 2020. But can you go into a little bit more detail about what's going on in Ethiopia?
So at the very moment, the federal troops have occupied, the main city in the region of Tigray called Mekelle. And it appears that the soldiers from the group that sort of was the primary kind of ruling elite, in the previous regime and within the region in Tigray People's Liberation Front, seem to have kind of like either been arrested or going like to the hills or killed or something like that. But just to back up on the background, essentially this conflict arose from a changing of the guard. The country was ran by the TPLF for about 27 years, since 1991. They were following a sort of a neoliberal program, but more like they were taking the Chinese road, where gradual privatization, state-directed, but privileging a certain few elites. And after certain powerful mass social movements, in the last decade, after the previous Prime Minister Meles Zenawi passed away, there were mass popular protests. Students and others were engaged in struggle, and the successor Prime Minister didn't last very long. And then Abiy Ahmed, the current Prime Minister, came to power and was gradually consolidating power away from the TPLF within the previous coalition. But it would appear that the TPLF was not ready to accept, essentially being kicked out of a lot of the elite economic and state enterprises they were administering, and as a result of that, there was conflict, a lot of division and resistance going on. In my opinion, obviously, this is all of these people, all of the administrators, all of the political parties in power, whether it's TPLF or Abiy's Prosperity Party, they're not primarily serving the interests of ordinary working class and poor Ethiopians. And it's more like a struggle among the elites. But the propaganda effects has divided the population along ethnic lines, and this has resulted in a conflict